Most of the Cello Concerto was written while the Elgars were living at Brinkwells. It's impossible to say whether it is his war requiem, but it is a piece filled with sadness and regret.
Elgar's wife was very ill when this piece was being written, and I think there's a certain way that the phrases in this movement don't want to finish. The whole tune is a bit like a last breath, like a dying breath, and I think he can feel that his wife and possibly his own life are slipping away. And it's a very short movement, but it feels absolutely epic because every note counts and everything's held onto until the very, very last dying breath. It's an absolutely amazing piece because it tells an incredible story. He's going to tell you everything that happened in his life and what it felt like. And you don't even need to know what happened in his life because there are so many interesting things and emotions that it's clear. It somehow just feels like a journey through someone's life.
Today it's difficult to believe that the Cello Concerto is one of those pieces that didn't get the best start in life. It's made up for it though. It's now one of the most recorded pieces of music. It's constantly in the classical chart. The premiere was a bit of a disaster. It took place at the Queen's Hall, London, in October 1919, with Elgar conducting. By all accounts, the musicians were under-rehearsed and the critics had a field day. Sadly, this was the last premiere of Elgar's work attended by his wife Alice. She died on the 7th of April 1920. The couple had enjoyed a long and devoted marriage, and Elgar never really got over her death. Although he was made Master of the King's Music a few years later, he wrote little of consequence and died in 1934. He's buried beside Alice at St Wulstan's Church in Little Malvern, overlooked by the hills that had inspired him to write some of the greatest British music of all time.
I think this is truly one of the greatest cello concertos ever written. I think it's one of the greatest pieces of music, in any case, ever written, because it always has something new to offer you. That's the one thing that tells you if a piece of music or a piece of art or a book or whatever is a great thing, is when you come back to it and it feels like you know it, but there's also a whole host of things about it just waiting there to discover.
The finale of Elgar's Cello Concerto, played by Paul Watkins there. The BBC Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Sir Andrew Davis, one of the memorable BBC archive performances we're featuring in this series. If you've liked what you've heard and you want to hear more, the good news is I'll be introducing a complete performance of the piece later today over on BBC Radio 3. Hope you can join me. And if you're wanting to add a performance of the concerto to your CD collection at home, here's the Great Music Show's recommendations. Sadly, no recording on CD yet from Paul Watkins, but don't worry, just about every other great cellist has recorded the concerto, and there are many fantastic performances to choose from. Great vintage recordings include those from Beatrice Harrison, Pablo Casals, Paul Tortelier and Pierre Fournier, all legendary names. Recent recordings include a beautiful account by British cellist Stephen Isserlis, Norwegian Truls Mørk and Dutchman Peter Wispelwey. But the all-time classic is the 1965 recording by Jacqueline du Pré with conductor Sir John Barbaroli and the London Symphony Orchestra. Still as fresh as ever, it's one of the great recordings of all time. For more information on Elgar and the Cello Concerto, visit bbc.co.uk/classicaltv. There's also a Great Music Show competition. Next time on the Great Music Show, I'll be taking a look at a favourite of amateur choral societies across the UK. Join me then for all you need to know about Handel's choral masterpiece, The Messiah. That's next time, but back to Elgar. Shortly before he died, he was heard whistling the Cello Concerto's main theme. He told a friend, if ever, after I'm dead, you hear someone whistling this tune on the Malvern Hills, don't be alarmed. It's only me. Goodbye.
And Ella brings us Handel's Messiah tomorrow at the earlier time of 2:30.